In the today's class, we'll take up some more information about the crystal lattice, some more important terminologies we'll consider in the today's class. Let us take the meaning of primitive lattice cell, or it is also called as primitive unit cell. Okay, what do you mean by this primitive unit cell? We'll see. Suppose a unit cell is having the structure of parallelepiped. The parallelepiped defined by primitive axis or a crystallographic axis called ABC is called as primitive cell. Okay, so primitive cell is the smallest unit cell present in the crystal lattice. Okay, so basically this primitive cell is made by axis A, B and C. Okay, the smallest portion is primitive unit cell. It is called as primitive unit cell. So basically the primitive cell is a unit cell with the smallest volume, repetition of which produce the crystal structure. Okay, so sometimes you may have to define the unit cell by taking the different portion of the crystal lattice, in which if we take the smallest volume, the unit cell of a smallest volume, that is called as primitive unit cell. Okay, I will show you in diagram later, but you remember among the unit cells, the unit cell of the smallest volume is called as primitive cell or primitive unit cell. Okay, the unit cell will fill all the space under the action of suitable crystal translation operations. A primitive cell is minimum volume unit cell. This unit cell can repeat in different directions. It can be repeated along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis in accordance with suitable crystal translational operations. What do you mean by translational operation? You can take the unit cell at a certain distance along x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, and they are defined by the crystallographic axis A, B and C. Okay, they are called as primitive axis or crystallographic axis. Andre along x direction, you can find another unit cell after distance A. Along y direction, you can find another unit cell at a distance B. And at a distance C, you can find a unit cell along Z direction. That is how you can repeat the unit cell at a specific distance. And that distance is exactly defined using these vectors called ABC. And they are called as the translational vectors. Okay, Andre, after that distance, you can find the same symmetry again. That is the meaning of the crystal translational vector. So there is a density of one lattice point per primitive cell. The property of primitive cell say that the primitive cell contains effectively only one lattice point. Okay, in which only one lattice point is there. Okay, so if you replace that lattice point by the structural unit, you can have only one assembly of atom. So in primitive unit cell, only one basis is present if you take the crystal structure. Okay, otherwise primitive cell contains only one lattice point in it. So it is effectively containing only one lattice point. So there are, if you consider the cube structure, on the cube structure consider madidre, there are lattice point at the 8 corners of the parallelepiped. To understand this, the concept of lattice point, you consider a cubical structured primitive cell. So parallelepiped, it contains lattice point at the 8 corners. Okay, but each corner point is shared among the 8 cells which touch there. Okay, so each lattice point is shared by 8 primitive cells. The volume VC of the primitive cell is defined by the primitive axis. So it is defined by the primitive axis ABC, where A is the length, B is breadth, C is height of the parallelepiped. Then volume of this parallelepiped is given by mod of A cross B dot C. It is a vector product. Vector ABC are taken as A cross B dot C. Okay, it is called as vector triple product. Vector triple product gives you the volume of the parallelepiped. In mathematics, you might have studied. So this is the volume of the primitive cell. If A, B, C are the length, width, and breadth of the height of the unit cell. Okay. So just I will show you in diagram, if the primitive cell contains 8 lattice point, so that each corner contains 1 lattice point, that lattice point is shared by 8 neighboring unit cells. Okay. So effective part of the lattice point available for the given primitive cell is 1 by 8th part, because each lattice point is shared by 8 cells. So each cell is taking the effective share equal to 1 by 8. Such 8 lattice points are there in a parallelepiped. So each lattice point gives you 1 by 8th part or 1 by 8th share to the primitive cell. So effective lattice point is 1 by 8th share into 8 lattice point, that is equal to 1. That is how we can understand the effective lattice point provided for a given primitive cell equal to 1. Okay, I will show you later in diagram. A primitive cell is a unit cell with the smallest volume, repetition of which produce the crystal structure. Already you have seen it. So there are lattice points at 8 corners of the parallelepiped, but each corner point is shared among the 8 cells which touch there. Therefore, the effective number of lattice points per primitive cell is equal to 1. Okay. Andre one primitive cell alli one effective lattice point is there, even though it is having 8 lattice points at the corner of the parallelepiped. Each lattice point will give the share of 1 by 8th part. That's all. Such 8 lattice points are there. So you will get 1 by 8 into 8. That is equal to 1. So therefore, the effective number of lattice point in the primitive cell is equal to 1. So now consider this diagram. You consider this center lattice point, the lattice point which is at the center. And here you can observe 8 unit cells arranged in regular pattern. 8 unit cells are there. Okay. And the crystallographic axes are A, B, and C. So this is having length A, breadth B, height C. That is one unit cell. You consider this center lattice point. So it is shared by 8 unit cells. You look at this one. One lattice point is shared by 8 unit cells. So for each unit cell, this lattice point gives you 1 by 8th share. Okay, 1 by 8th part of it. That's why each and every lattice point will give 1 by 8th share to each primitive cell. Therefore, this primitive cell contains 8 lattice points here. N lattice point is there. Each lattice point gives you 1 by 8th share. Therefore, what are the number of lattice points present in this primitive cell? That is 1 by 8th share of 8 lattice point. That is equal to 1 by 8 into 8. That is equal to 1. Therefore, even though there are 8 unit cells, each unit cell contains only 1 lattice point effectively, because this lattice point will be shared by other cell here beside it. The repetition ಆಗ್ತದೆ. And therefore, each lattice point will give 1 by 8th share of it to the given primitive cell. Therefore, the effective number of lattice points in a primitive cell is equal to 1. That is one of the important property of the primitive cell. Okay. So this is about the primitive cell. So another way of choosing the cell of equal volume we see is shown in this below figure. We'll see that. So basically we know that primitive cell is a unit cell containing the smallest volume. Okay. So for that there is a concept called Wigner-Seitz cell. Okay. Wigner-Seitz primitive cell anta ಒಂದು concept ಇದೆ. To get that, what you have to do, draw lines to connect the given lattice point to all nearby lattice points. So just to take the lattice point, then connect all the lattice points by means of imaginary lines. Okay, that is the first step. Then at the midpoint and normal to these lines, you draw new lines or planes. So to this particular line, you draw one perpendicular at the midpoint. To this line, you draw one perpendicular to the midpoint. So for this line, you draw one perpendicular. Like that, you draw perpendiculars to all the lines joining the lattice points. The smallest volume enclosed by these planes, okay, the smallest volume enclosed here, that is called as Wigner-Sid's primitive cell. Okay, this is one more method to find the primitive cell. Okay, so basically primitive cell is the unit cell of a smallest volume, and effectively it contains only one lattice point. Okay, so another method is you consider the lattice points, you consider this rangoli, then join all the points by means of straight lines. Okay, from this lattice point to this lattice point, this lattice point to here. Okay, then you draw perpendiculars to these lines at their midpoints. Okay, here you draw one line, here you one perpendicular, here one perpendicular. Like that, you draw the perpendiculars for this line joining the lattice points. Then you find out what is the volume enclosed by these perpendiculars. That is called as Wigner-Sid's primitive cell. And look at this figure. This Wigner-Sid's primitive cell contains only one lattice point in it. Here it contains only one lattice point, and it is having the basic structure of the unit cell. The basis associated with the lattice point of the primitive cell is called the primitive basis. Primitive basis, or it is the structural unit. Primitive basis contains only one atom in it. That is one more important property. Basis means it is the fundamental building block of the crystal structure. Primitive basis contains only one atom in it. Okay, so the effective number of atoms in the primitive cell is equal to 1. Effective number of lattice points in a primitive cell is equal to 1. Okay, so basically primitive cell can be taken as it is a unit cell of a smallest volume. That is one method. Another method is you take the lattice points, then draw the lines to join those lattice points, then draw the perpendicular at their midpoints. Then these perpendiculars will occur, or that will give you a closed volume, and that is called as Wigner-Sid's primitive cell. Then Wigner-Sid's primitive cell also contains only one lattice point in it, and if you replace this lattice point by the basis, it is observed that primitive cell contains only one atom in it. Okay, so unit cell if you replace these lattice points by the basis, then each unit cell contains only one atom in it. Effectively only one atom. Remember, even though if you consider the parallelepiped, it will contains 8 atoms at each corner of it. Okay, one corner one atom, it will occupy 8 atoms, but each atom is shared by 8 unit cells. That's why the effective number of atoms in unit cell is equal to 1. You remember this, and that is called as the coordination number. Okay, coordination number. Okay, then we'll take the elements of symmetry after completion of this unit cell and primitive unit cell concept. We will go to the elements of symmetry. Already I have told you that crystals possess different symmetries. Okay, so symmetry is observed for the crystals, and that is one of the important property of the crystals. The symmetry operations of a crystal carry the crystal structure into itself, or that will not change the crystal structure. Simple example is, if you take a cube, if you keep that on a table, then you rotate that cube by 90 degrees, then the structure or the arrangement of the cube points will not change. Okay, that is known as symmetry operation. The rotation of the cube by 90 degrees is one of the symmetry operation. If you do that symmetry operation on a crystal or crystal lattice, that lattice will not change its nature. Okay, so the identical system or identical structure is obtained after the symmetry operation. So such operations are called as symmetry operations. Okay, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ symmetry operations ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Symmetry operations performed about a point or a line are called as point group symmetry. Okay, so there is a symmetry operations that can be arranged in terms of group in accordance with the mathematical group theory. The point group symmetry elements possessed by the crystal are, one is plane of symmetry. Okay, second one is the axis symmetry. Okay, plane of symmetry, then axis of symmetry. We'll come to that. So two different types of point group symmetries are there. One is plane of symmetry. Okay, so a crystal is said to have the plane of symmetry when it is divided by the imaginary plane into two halves, such that one is the mirror image of the other. Then the crystal is said to have the plane of symmetry with respect to that. Okay, simple example, if you take a cube, then cut the cube exactly at the center. Okay, imagine a plane passing through the center of the cube. With respect to that plane, the cube is having the identical structure on both sides. Okay, so that's why the cube has a plane of symmetry with respect to its center. Okay, similarly, if you cut the cube along the diagonal axis, then also the cube will have the identical structure on both sides. Therefore, cube has the plane of symmetry about its diagonal axis also, at the center and also at the diagonal axis also. Okay, diagonal plane also. They are called as planes of symmetry. So that operation is called as planes of symmetry. Okay, that means if you observe the plane from one side and from the opposite side, the cube is identical. Okay, so you will observe the identical structure of the cube, and that is how you can understand the plane of symmetry. Just I will try to show it. So for example, the cube has 9 planes of symmetry. There are 9 planes of symmetry for the cube. So this is one simple plane of symmetry passing through the center. Upper part of the cube is similar to the lower part. This is one plane. If you cut that vertically, that is another plane. Okay, then you take diagonal symmetry. If you cut this cube along the diagonal, that is going to be one structure. Along this diagonal, that will have another structure of identical structure along this diagonal. So this figure represents the plane of symmetry parallel to the faces of the cube. There are 3 such planes. So with respect to this, there are 3 such planes are there. This plane, this plane. So 3 different planes are observed for this plane of symmetry, this one and this one. Okay, so 3 such planes are there. ಈ ತರ ನೀವು ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇನು, ಈ ತರ ಬರುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇನು, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಈ ತರ ಕಟ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇನ್. 3 planes you can imagine. So these are the 3 planes of symmetry. Then there are 6 diagonal planes of symmetry. Okay, diagonal planes of symmetry ನಿಮಗೆ 6 planes ಬರ್ತವೆ. That will cut the plane, that cube into 2 identical halves. Okay, identical mirror images of the cube can be observed by 9 different planes of symmetry. Therefore, cube has 9 planes of symmetry. That is how you can understand the plane of symmetry. Okay, so this is a operation. The mirror image of the one part is identical to the another part. That is called as the plane of symmetry. Okay, next we will take up the axis of symmetry. What do you mean by axis of symmetry? If the crystal is rotated around it through some angle about an axis, the crystal remains invariant or crystal remains unaltered. Then the crystal is said to have axis of symmetry. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು axis of symmetry ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. So if you rotate the crystal or unit cell with respect to certain axis, okay, so you have studied moment of inertia where you have studied the rotation of the body with respect to certain axis. If you take this cube, if you rotate the cube so that this axis is fixed, then you can rotate this cube by 90 degrees. That will give you the identical structure. If this gives you the identical structure after 360 by n angle of rotation, then the axis is said to have n-fold symmetry. Okay, ignore. If you take the cube, you can rotate this cube by 90 degree, then the cube is going to give same structure. Then if you rotate it by 180 degree, the cube will give you same structure again. 270 degree, same structure. Then 360 degree. In one rotation, you can get 4 identical structures. Okay, you can get 4 identical structures in it. Okay. So that it is having n-fold symmetry, that is 4-fold symmetry. The axis which is passing through the center of the cube perpendicular to its side or its face is having 4-fold symmetry, because one complete rotation gives you 4 identical structures again. That means it is having 4-fold symmetry. And just you observe, if it is having 4-fold symmetry, you put n equal to 4 here, 360 by 4, that will give you 90 degree. So after each 90 degree rotation, you will get the equivalent configuration or identical configuration of the crystal again. Okay, so that is the meaning of n-fold symmetry. Let us take the example. If equivalent configuration occurs after the rotation of 180 degree or 120 degree and 90 degree, the axis of rotation are known as 2-fold symmetry, 3-fold symmetry, and 4-fold symmetry respectively. If equivalent configuration is observed after 180 degree rotation, then it is 360 divided by 180 you can do. That will give you n equal to 2. So that axis is said to have the 2-fold symmetry. The axis which is passing through the one diagonal to the opposite diagonal, that is having 2-fold symmetry. Okay. Then if equivalent configuration is observed after 120 degree rotation, the axis is said to have 3-fold symmetry. Okay. If it is having 90 degree rotation gives you the identical configuration, then the axis is said to have 4-fold symmetry. Okay. So here in figure, you can observe 3 different axes which are having 4-fold symmetry. It is having 4-fold symmetry. So cube has 3 4-fold symmetry axes. Okay. So after every 90 degree rotation, it gives you the equivalent configuration. In one complete rotation, it gives you 4 equivalent configuration. You understanding. Then we will complete this finally. Center of symmetry. So center of symmetry means it is a point such that any line drawn through it will meet the surface of the crystal at equal distances on either side. If you draw any line passing through a point, if that point is exactly at the center from the opposite surfaces, then that point is called as center of symmetry. Okay. The crystal may possess a number of planes or axes of symmetry, but it can have only one center of symmetry. That is one important point you can note. The point symmetry corresponding to center of symmetry is only one, but crystal may have large number of planes or axis of symmetry. Plane of symmetry and axis of symmetry can be more in number, but center of symmetry is observed to be only one. Example, the cube has the single center of symmetry at the center of the cube. So if you observe the distance of the face from that center, it will be same on either side. That is how you can understand the center of symmetry. If you draw a line passing through the center of symmetry, then from the center of symmetry, you will meet the surface at equal distance on both sides. It says that center of symmetry is a point such that any line drawn through it will meet the surface of the crystal at equal distances on either side. Okay, and that is how we can understand the point of, sorry, center of symmetry. Okay, we'll stop here. So the concept of point group symmetry and space group symmetry will consider in the